Hey everybody, welcome to the Mana League. I'm John as always, and it's time for another Top 10 Thursday. I know, 2 in a row, crazy. I've actually gotten scripts together, I've gotten ideas, I've gotten Top 10 Thursdays. I don't think there will be one next week. We'll see if I have time after the set reviews. Of course, the set reviews are going to take a massive amount of my time, but you can look for the first set review tomorrow afternoon, probably around 2 or 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But you should subscribe just so you know when they go up. But today is going to be the top 10 cards that I was wrong about in the Oath of the Gatewatch set review. I, of course, do set reviews for every set, and I'm sometimes wrong. I'm sometimes very wrong. I'm sometimes very right, but I'm also sometimes very wrong. Today we'll look at the 10 cards that I was wrong about. Up first at number 10, we have Roiling Waters. I got a lot of flack for this one because I might have given it an F. I might have said 5 blue is ridiculous, you're never going to cast it, it's so expensive. Yeah, the effect is cool and really good, but so wow is that expensive. I was right / wrong. F was way too low. I sort of immediately regretted giving that an F and sort of jumped back to saying, oh, okay, no. I love bouncing creatures. I love drawing cards. I love blue-black control decks. You know what? No, this card's more like a B- or a B+. That was way too much the other way because Roiling Waters, it turns out, is actually just not that good. 7 is very expensive. There are a lot of games you simply do not get to cast this card. F was way too harsh for sure, but I still wouldn't give this much more than a C+, I think. I was wrong about it because I was too harsh, but ultimately I don't think it was nearly as good as it should have been. It's almost like Turn Against was in Battle for Zendikar. Turn Against I was really low on because I didn't see that it was an instant, and then of course everybody said, no, it's incredible, and by the end it was just kind of okay. And I think that's where Roiling Waters ended up as well. At number 9, we have Gift of Tusks. Gift of Tusks is me going the other way. I was pretty high on Gift of Tusks. I was expecting it to basically be removal a lot of the time. I was thinking, of course, of Turn to Frog. Turns out a 3/3 vanilla creature is still a force to be reckoned with. Turning something into a 1/1 is really easy to handle. Turning something into a 3/3, much harder to handle, especially when so many of the creatures in your decks are 2/4s and 2/3s and 2/2s, and not that 3 power. Yeah, Gift of Tusks just never quite got there. I gave it a B- to start with. It was way too high. C- is more accurate, probably even lower, to be honest. Next up at number 8, we've got Remorseless Punishment. Remorseless Punishment I really wanted to like. I know why I shouldn't like it. Giving your opponent choices is bad. I talk about that a lot. I frequently say, edicts are okay if they're cheap and you can cast them early enough. But, at the end of the game, when you're in a board stall, an edict is not very good because your opponent says, well, yeah, sure, I'll sacrifice this 1/1. Big whoop. But I still wanted to like Remorseless Punishment. I liked all of the choices. Take 5 damage? Cool. Lose 2 cards? That's the less cool one, but still cool, especially on turn 5 or later. And of course, sacrifice a creature. Pretty cool. Ultimately, I still refuse to go quite as low as the limited resources guys are. Marshall, of course, hates this card. Absolutely hates this card. Thinks it's terrible. I don't think it's horrible, but I'll concede that my original B+ was a little bit too high. I think C is more appropriate. I've definitely seen this used to some good effect. For example, the League deck that I'm potentially... No, I won't face him because he didn't make the top 8. But the League deck that has 2 of these and plays them back to back. That's pretty good. But generally, this is probably just a C. Next up, we have Birthing Hulk. Birthing Hulk has the downside of being green. Going into Oath, green was horrible. We all remember just how totally unplayable green was in Battle for Zendikar. It was just bad. It was unplayably bad. I didn't expect that to continue on into Oath. I expected it to get at least a little bit better, if not playable, and it did. Turns out green was actually fairly solid in Oath of the Gatewatch. Green-white support, of course, was super awesome. But Birthing Hulk I was still kind of down on. I figured, a 7-drop, I want something more than a 5/4 that can regenerate. I want trample. I want flying. I want effects. I want stuff to happen. So I started at a C. I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was unplayable or anything. It just wasn't quite what I wanted to be doing. But it turns out that sometimes in weak packs, this is even first pickable, and it's definitely something most green decks do kind of want unless they're super aggressive. So I think B- is a little bit more appropriate for Birthing Hulk. Next up, we have Cinder Hellion. Cinder Hellion wasn't a huge change, but I started out thinking Cinder Hellion was totally filler level. pure C. Absolutely nothing better than a C. Turns out it actually was a little bit better than that. I would arguably go as high as a B minus. I really like the 4/4 trample with 2 extra damage. That might be my own personal sort of opinions on this. I'm playing a sealed league deck currently at my store where I have 2 of these and they're doing amazingly. But yeah, I would go as high as B minus. I originally started out at pure absolute C, and I think that was slightly too low. Next up at number 5, we have Zulaport Chainmage. Zulaport Chainmage, hilariously, I liked a lot more than Ondu War Cleric. I said, oh, this is so much better than Ondu War Cleric. Turns out Ondu War Cleric was way better than Zulaport Chainmage. Zulaport Chainmage kind of fell off because it was a 4/2 for 4, and those stats are bad. 4/2s for 4 die to everything, and they die to stuff that costs half that mana cost, sometimes even a quarter of that mana cost. The 2 life loss was cool, but there were just so many better things that you could have in your allies' decks than Zulaport Chainmage. Life gain was really the way to go, not life loss. Life gain got you ahead. It allowed you to keep swinging in the air, and of course with Cliffhaven Vampire, it still drained. So yeah, Zulaport Chainmage I had up at an B originally, and it probably is much more of a C, maybe even a C minus. Next up, we have Isle Avenger. Isle Avenger, I was, pretty down on Surge, and I still kind of am down on Surge. I'm even more down on Surge after having played Two-Headed Giant, where it's just literally always on. It is such an overpowered, broken mechanic in Two-Headed Giant that I hate it. And it's such an underpowered mechanic on most cards in Limited. And of course, you should never play Bone Saws or Expedites just to enable Surge. That's not the way to go. But there are a few Surge cards that are pretty solid, and Isle Avenger is one of them. I still don't want to play this for its full mana cost, but it's not too hard to play this for 3. You're not going to get it out early, usually. You're not going to go, I hope, Bonesaw, turn 3, Isle Avenger. I've seen it done, and it sucks to have it done, but that's not the ideal, because that's just way too high variance, and you're playing bad cards. But doing this on turn 5, when you go 2-drop Isle, is pretty good, because then you get not 3 creatures, that would be amazing. You get 2 creatures for 5, which is still solid. I was down on this at a C-. I'm not going to go too much higher. I'm going to go to a C+, but I was down on this to start with, and I shouldn't have been quite so down on it. Next up, we have Boulder Salvo. Boulder Salvo is another Surge card that I was pretty down on. This one I really undervalued. The Surge cost of 1 and a red is really, really, really easy to pay for. Really easy to pay for. 2 is incredible. 1 is really good too. Surging out Containment Membrane was pretty easy, and I wasn't as down on that because I recognized that a single mana was pretty easy. But 2 mana was pretty darn easy as well. I had this at a C+, and it really should be more like a full B. It's arguably first pickable in some packs, and I actually don't horribly mind playing this for its full mana cost. It's not the best way to go, but I do like surging this out. At number 2, we have Zada's Commando. Zada's Commando is another cohort ally that I was wrong on, but this one wasn't overvalued. This one I undervalued it. Turns out a 2/1 first strike for 2 is just totally solid. The cohort ability is just total upside. 2/1 for 2 first strike, really, really good. 100% playable, something you should even actively seek out. And the fact that if you're later in the game, you can start pinging for a damage if you have allies is just, fantastic. I think that's really the key at Zada's Commando, is that it's really nice if it's solid. It's a solid early aggressive creature. It's really nice. And later in the game, it still has utility. I had it at a C- originally. I think it probably should have been more of a B-. Or sorry, not C-, C+ originally. I think it should have been more like a B-. It's first pickable in some packs. You don't feel good about that, but it is an option. Finally, at number 1, we have the most fun card to say in the set. I knew it was going to be a fun card to say. I didn't know it was going to be as good as it was. Saddleback Lagak. Saddleback Lagak, I had it a C-. That's way too low. Way too low. I talked about how I didn't want to play this for no value, and that's still true. Playing this for 4 and getting no counters sucks. A 3/1 for 4 is terrible. It's the worst feeling in the world. But the ease with which you can go 2-drop, 3-drop Lagak is really easy. Even getting this for 1 counter is still pretty darn solid. C- was way too low on this thing. This really should have been more like B-, probably even just solid B. I would first pick this in really weak packs, and I would take this very highly and play a bunch of them. Saddleback Lagak, most fun card to say in the set. I was right on that, but I was really wrong on that C-. So that's going to wrap it up for the top 10 cards that I was wrong about in Oath of the Gatewatch. Definitely let me know what you think of these 10 cards. Are my redo sort of grades more appropriate? What cards were you wrong? What other cards do you think I was wrong? Let me know in the comments below. They are right down there. As well, if you like my videos, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find me on Twitter at the Mana Leak. That's L-E-E-K, like the vegetable, not the card. And you can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/the Mana Leak. You've already found me here on YouTube. You've got that comment section below, as I said. You've also got those thumbs up icons. That lets me know that you like the videos, the world know that you like my videos, and keeps my videos rising up through the ranks. So please click those. As well, if you haven't subscribed, you really should, especially right now, today. I assume you're a active Magic player excited about Shadows over Innistrad. The Shadows over Innistrad full set spoiler is going to go up tomorrow afternoon, and very shortly after I will have the first white set review for Shadows over Innistrad. You want to make sure that you see those as soon as they go up. They are pretty lengthy videos, so you want to get those videos in so that you're ready for the pre-releases next weekend. So make sure that you do subscribe. There's a button right below there, or maybe there. One of those ways. I don't know if my camera's flipped right now or not, but you should click that. There's also one in the outros. If you've already clicked, don't click again. That unsubscribes you. But if you haven't subscribed, you should. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, see y'all next time.